Good evening. Tonight, Les will be giving a talk. I think all of you know Les, and the name of the talk is The Sound of Stone. So welcome, Les.
Thank you. Well, it's very heartening to see all of you here tonight. I kind of thought maybe after what we saw last night on the screen, maybe you'd want to shut off your screens for tonight. So it's heartening to see you here, still involved in the practice, and still wanting to be with each other. That's so vital these days. So let me start with a story from the golden age of Zen in 9th century China, story of Kyogen. Kyogen as a young monk, was a very brilliant scholar. He was an expert on all of the sutras, and he was always reciting the sutras, and he was always quoting from them. And Kyogen was a disciple of the very beloved Kuai Shan, who was known as a very, very kind-hearted master. He was never strict with his students, just encouraged them in a very gentle way. So one day, Kyogen went to his teacher, Kuai Shan, to discuss his practice. And when he bowed to Kuai Shan and he sat down, and he immediately quoted from a sutra. And Kuai Shan said to him, "I don't want to know what you learned from your studies. Just say in one word what your original being was before your parents gave you birth and prior to your capacity to discriminate." So, of course, Kuai Shan's meaning is, express your understanding by showing your inherent self that exists before your body and mind. Kyogen said nothing. Kyogen remained silent. Actually, I think Kyogen went into shock hearing what his teacher said to him. He was confused, and he didn't know what to think, because Kuai Shan's words to him were much different than what he was accustomed to, because the way Kuai Shan spoke to him was not about thinking, and it was not about knowledge, and it was not about what was in Kyogen's mind. Kuai Shan was pointing to something else. So Kyogen did not know how to answer. So he left. He left Kuai Shan, and he left the monastery, and he went away to think about what Kuai Shan had said. So he did some research to try to understand what Kuai Shan had told him. And of course, what did he do? He reviewed the sutras. That was his way. Several weeks later, he went back to Kuai Shan, and he gave an answer. And Kuai Shan rejected his student's answer. And this made Kuai Shan very anxious and very nervous, and he begged, Kyogen begged Kuai Shan for an answer. And Kuai Shan said one of the most important things that we learn in Zen practice. Kuai Shan said to Kyogen, "Whatever I say is according to my understanding, and it will not benefit you." Kuai Shan didn't quite understand that, and he became very discouraged. He left the monastery. He got rid of all of his books, all of his sutras, and he simply gave up studying, and he became a hermit. became a hermit in a hut on a mountain. And one day, while sweeping up the debris in front of his hermitage, a stone struck a bamboo tree, and there was a loud sound. And the sound opened Kyogen's mind. It opened his mind. So he changed out of his work clothes and into his robes. He lit incense and he bowed. He bowed facing his teacher's mountain, and he said, "Your kindness is beyond that of my parents. If you had said anything that day, this could not have happened." Here's another story, a shorter story, but of a similar theme. It's about Tozan, who was the founder of the Soto school in China. When he was at the monastery, when he was the abbot of the monastery, they prepared for a celebration to honor the anniversary of his teacher's death. His teacher was Yun Yen. A monk came to Tozan and he said, "When you were with Yun Yen, what instruction did he give you?" And Tozan said, "When I was with him, he neither instructed or directed me." And the monk said, "Well, then why do you celebrate him?" Tozan said, "I don't revere him for his virtue or his learning, but because he did not tell me any secrets." When we first come to practice, when we are new to this practice, we want to learn. We come to learn something. And this is very natural expectation. We want to understand the secret of life. We want to understand the mystery. We want answers to our spiritual questions. This is the main reason we come to practice. We want explanations for life's confusions, something that will center us and settle us down. We want to know how to resolve life's difficulties. So in the beginning, when we first discover our practice, we have a great deal of anticipation, of anticipation, and sometimes some excitement. But after a time, when explanations don't appear and secrets don't appear, we feel like we've hit a wall and we don't know how to proceed. We've hit a wall that we don't know how to get over. So what very often happens, we start looking for techniques to get over the wall. Is there a ladder around here? We want to get over this wall. We want answers to our questions and to our seeking. And these days, by now, Zen practice has been in this country for 60 or 70 years. And many books are now available, and there are seminars. There's YouTube videos, there's blogs, and there are apps. All these things are available to us, all promising to unlock the secrets. And there's a big industry has developed to help us in our search for some technique. Or in other words, to satisfy our desire for a quick and easy way to get answers to our questions. Probably these are the same questions that Tozan and Kyogen had. I don't imagine they're very much different, even though they were 1,000 years before us. So we see today we see possibility of shortcuts to wisdom. And many people spend some time searching outside of themselves, reading books and going to seminars and listening to lectures, looking for the technique that will help them answer their questions. But better than any technique is our attitude. Our attitude that motivates us to continually apply what we have already learned in our practice, even though we may still be very new. Our attitude should be, apply what you've learned. And don't worry about how much you've learned. You might feel the percentage of what you learned is very small to what you might ultimately learn. We don't worry about how much we've learned. We just simply apply what we've learned. And this kind of attitude, the attitude that doesn't worry about searching for some shortcut technique, but simply applies what we've learned, this is confidence. This is confidence that our wisdom will continue to unfold through our own personal effort. So these days, there are a number of people who actually can make a living offering tips and techniques and shortcuts, promising to answer such questions as how to bring practice into your daily life, or how to get enlightened, or how to stop your mind from wandering. But looking for the right technique, or studying these techniques, is a way of learning that does not help us. Of course, our practice is about learning, but not in the usual sense. If we insist on learning in the usual way, it will be a waste of time. We will become discouraged, just like Kyogen. He was discouraged because he did not get an answer from his teacher. In our practice, learning does not come from absorbing words from somebody else, or from collecting knowledge outside of ourself. And this is what Kaishan was trying to tell Kyogen. In the Soto Zen tradition, good teachers do not explain. They know that if they say too much, they will deprive their students of true learning. And Suzuki Roshi gave us some examples of this when he was with us several years ago. In one very famous example, a young man from England found Zen Center, was interested in the practice, and he went to Suzuki Roshi, and he asked Roshi to explain Zen to him. Please explain Zen practice. Suzuki Roshi's response was inviting him to come to Zazen. And I had a wonderful example of this way with him. In my early days of the practice, a long time ago by now, I came to him with a personal problem, feeling that he would have some wisdom to help me work through it. So I went to him and I explained my concern to him, and he said, "Oh, how is Mary-san?" Another teacher from Japan once said to me, "The most important technique is people's own sincerity." And I was very fortunate to hear this. For me, it was like a stone striking the bamboo. When we are interested or even anxious about finding some shortcut or technique to help us with the difficulty of an impatient mind, we find no peace when we search for a shortcut. But our practice is not difficult because of our busy mind or physical discomfort. This is a misunderstanding that beginners usually have. There does not exist a technique to fix these difficulties, the difficulties of an impatient and grasping mind. Zen practice becomes difficult when we don't trust it. And trust can be very difficult at first because its practice is unfamiliar. We're confused by it. There's some discomfort. There's so much we don't understand. But when we start to feel the value of the Sangha that is supporting the practice, our trust in the practice starts to build slowly. So it's important to trust our practice. That's the main thing. To trust it and continue with our practice despite any expectations of ours that have not been met. So, as an example, if you go to your teacher and say, how do I prevent my mind from wandering around? My mind is so distracted. How do I prevent my mind from wandering? The teacher will probably stay silent. And all you will hear is the breathing. If your body hurts from this unfamiliar posture, we have to forget the idea of what we call hurts. Let it hurt without worrying about it, without trying to escape it. We simply bring our awareness back to our breath. This takes discipline, and this takes practice. And we can't do this practice without discipline. And if we get confused along the way, as we're gaining experience with our practice, if we get confused, we are told, return your awareness to your breath. That's all. And as Suzuki Roshi said, this attitude is what it builds character. So it is a misunderstanding It's a mistake to search for techniques to answer our spiritual questions. If we continue searching for shortcuts like that, the mind will continually wander aimlessly, and our confusion will not diminish. There is no special technique to empty the mind. There is only the sincerity of our effort. We continually bring our mind back to the present, stay in the moment. This is the only technique there is. The only technique in our practice is what we call detachment. Detachment from old ideas, whether they are our own or whether they come from others. We all have a big question these days about how to take practice into daily life. We feel we have a life in the Zendo and we have a life outside of the Zendo, at work and at home. We want to learn how to take the practice into daily life. We study this question, we talk to each other about this question, and it turns out this approach is a misunderstanding. We cannot pick up and take practice from here to there. Practice is not movable, it is not a thing. Practice is not something that we move around. Practice is always with us, both here and there, in the Zendo, at home, on the job, on the freeway. No need to worry about how to take it from here to there. Practice is always with us. We often use an expression such as Zen and everyday life, as if they were two different things. This expression does not mean that we should find a way to take Zazen practice into everyday life using some technique. So rather than concern ourselves with how to take Zen practice from here to there, instead, we should acquire a deep understanding of the teaching and of Buddha's spirit. This is why we practice Zazen, to feel the teaching, to bring the teaching into our life. Then we don't have to take it from here to there. And this is the true way. Actually, there is no such thing as Zen or everyday life, and there's no such thing as Zen and everyday life. Both of these are the true expression of the true spirit of the Buddha. The spirit to help others. The spirit to maintain our practice and to support our society and the whole world. So simply, let us just practice here tonight with each other with sincerity. And then your practice will express itself in your daily life without interference. And we have to trust this point. So maybe you came here tonight with the idea that, well, maybe I'll pick up something. Maybe I'll learn something. You know, this is trying to learn in the usual way by picking up something, to learn something about Zen or to learn some technique to help practice. But actually, My words are useless. My words are useless to you. No true help can come from my words or anybody else's words, including Suzuki Roshi's words. We find help in our life, we find understanding in our life when we trust ourselves. When we trust ourselves and our practice, then our mind can become free. Just like Kyogen's mind became free when the stone struck a bamboo. Thank you. And if anybody has a question, we can try to have a discussion. Does anybody have a question?
Teresa?
Teresa?
Hi, Les.
Hi, Teresa.
Good evening. Thank you for your talk. So you said that the best Zen teachers, they remain quiet when you go with a question. So why do we need a teacher then?
Well, you know, when a baby is born, we don't simply put the baby out on the street and say, there you are, you're independent, you're on your own. The baby needs nurturing. The baby needs kindness and support and love. And someday the baby becomes an adult and leaves. In the same way, when we are baby Buddhas and we are with a teacher, we trust that teacher like a baby trusts his mother. And we let that teacher guide us according to his or her wisdom. It's not the words of the teacher that we need to help us mature. It is the support, the encouragement, the humor, and the feeling of being made safe. This is our practice, which goes beyond words. Thank you.
Dave?
To follow up on Teresa's question, Les, I would be tempted to say perhaps that in terms of questions and answers, the teacher's job is not to give you answers to your questions, but to give you questions for you to answer. Is that fair to say?
Well, maybe, but not in the usual sense of questions and answers. The teacher's job is to help you open your mind to orient your mind to the larger world and not to a narrow view that you may be carrying. So when the stone hit the bamboo for Kyogen and there was a sound, it was like the egg being cracked open. And the small world of the chick became infinite. That's the role of the teacher, to show us, to help us see the infinite world, not the narrow world. Thank you.
Giuseppe.
Hello.
Hello, Giuseppe.
Hey.
Good evening.
So I want to, we talked about the role of the teacher, and I want to talk about the student. If the teacher has useless words, the student doesn't get any better. I think I also made that mistake, and I thought that I think I've been thinking of practice as self-improvement in a practical sense.
Mhm.
And it's that could be in the moral sense or in the calming sense, and that or even I think my personal feeling was always of like practice is a step within, is going inside yourself, searching inside yourself. And indeed, I don't think you find anything inside yourself or outside yourself. And and that's tough to see, or like it escapes. We do want to gain something inside, you know, even if we think we are detached from outside, we want to gain something inside. So the student in the end doesn't know where to place his head, where to focus is think that his own self is, and his effort should be pointed to, and so but he continues to practice and just sees things slightly different, and has a little more courage to go without any understanding or secret into life, both inner life and outer life. So do you think that is a good description of how a Zen student should be, or I'm missing something?
Mm-mm. You know, the thoughts that arise constantly in our consciousness gives us the impression that there's somebody in there. our mind says, there's got to be somebody there creating these thoughts. How else could they arise? And we first come to practice, we have this idea. I want to find out who that is. I want to find out who's saying all those things and getting confused by these ideas. Who is that? Is it me? But after we practice for a while, when the new student starts to develop some insight and some maturity and gains some experience with a very quiet mind, a mind that has had some opportunities to just be still and to let the thoughts settle down, this idea that there's somebody inside there starts to diminish. The quiet that we experience in our Zazen practice, the mind free from thoughts, is a great gift because we begin to see that there's nobody in there. There's nobody that we have to try to explain or expose. We don't have to expose ourselves. It's like, the famous Dogen quote, study Buddhism is to study the self. And then he says, to study the self is to forget the self. So with some experience and some dedication to practice, we begin to see that our initial understanding was misplaced through no fault of our own. And that as we can move away from that original worldview of what things are inside our head, as we move away from that, we begin to see that there's no special thing that needs enlightenment. We're not special. We are just with everyone else as part of something very great. Something very great that cannot be described. This is why the first few months or years of Zen practice are very important. Newcomers need support and encouragement from the Sangha so that they will continue to explore what they're learning and not be put off by discouragement. So all of us here tonight are teachers for each other in the way that our practice encourages and inspires one another and anybody else who may come our way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick?
Nick?
Hi, Les.
Hi, Nick. Well, welcome. Yeah.
My question is about Kyogen. Was Kyogen's awakening a sudden awakening or a gradual awakening? Or is there even a distinction in awakening?
Kyogen was always awake, only he didn't know it. Thank you.
Thank you, Les.
Brenda?
What is the best way to help one another?
Is that a trick question?
No.
Well, you already know the answer to that. I know you. We know you. And we know that you already know the answer to that. So that's a trick question. That's like saying, who won the debate? Nobody can answer that. Thank you.
Vanessa.
Hi, Les.
Hi, Vanessa.
I was thinking about the story that you referred to briefly of your experience with Suzuki Roshi when you went to him with a personal issue so many years ago, and his reaction. And my question to you, I suppose, would be how did you hold that at the time? Like, how did that land with you at the time? Because it reminds me of a lot of exchanges that I had with teachers sort of earlier on in practice that I also found those reactions to be I was quite shaken by them, I think, earlier on in practice, because I was expecting something else, and I think I was projecting a lot emotionally onto the figure of the teacher. I think it's such a complex relationship, and so so I'm curious, like, how that made you feel and what you feel you took away from that and you learned from it.
When I went to him with this question, I thought my problem or my concern was pretty serious. And out of his kindness, he would help me solve it. And I was disappointed that I went away empty-handed. I thought I did. I wasn't given a solution or even a hint. Well, that's not true. I was given a hint. I said, here's my problem. And he said, how's your wife? Reorient yourself, he was saying. You don't have to worry about yourself so much. Take care of the people and the things that you should take care of. And then there won't be any problems. I didn't understand that immediately. It took me a while for that to seep in. But that's the way he was. He reoriented me. He pointed me in a different direction. He was saying, your direction won't help you. You're concerned about yourself. Turn your direction to the wider world. Take care of the people you need to take care of. Have a bigger mind, he was saying. Took me a while to understand that. But that was his gift. He planted a seed that he wants you to help plant, or he plants a seed that he wants you to nurture. and see what blooms. How's your wife? He said, how's your wife? Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like to say hi to Janet, who's come back for a while. I'd like to say hi to Will Robinson, who we haven't seen in a while. Hi, Will. Let's see, who else haven't we seen in quite a while? Oh, Wally. Welcome back, Wally. And Don. Well, it is good to see all of you.
Eric Geist, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh, that's a different Eric. Who's it, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, I see. Hi, Eric.
Both Erics.
Hi. And oh, Tigran, we haven't seen you in some time. Welcome, Tigran.
Thank you, Les. Thank you. Enjoy your talk.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Maybe this is a good time to introduce newcomers as well. Oh, sorry, Wally, were you going to say something? Okay, maybe not.
Well, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Les.
Hi, Wally.
It's been a few years,
Yeah.
decade or more. But that last thing that you said is how I remember you. How you said things that seemingly made no sense to me at the time, but I thought about them, and after a while, it made sense. So thank you.
Thanks, Wally. This might be a good time to introduce newcomers. So, Chan Chu, do you want to introduce yourself? I don't think I've met you before. Sorry, I accidentally muted you. Go ahead, unmute again. Yes, there you go. Hi,
Hear me?
welcome.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Chen Chu. I'm a meditation practitioner. I've been meditating a different method for a few years. Trying to get that into a daily routine these days. On the side questions I have actually is that because my meditation method is different, it's actually movement, based on movement entirely. It's kind of noisy. So, but I do found the Dharma talk is beneficial in terms of my understanding or confusion about certain areas. So is it okay to join the Dharma talk without joining the meditation part? Because my meditation is kind of coming from Thailand lineage.
Oh, yes. Please join the talk if you like, whenever you like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Chanchu. I also see someone, Gary, on the call. No video, but can you hear us, Gary? Hi.
Yeah, that would be me. You may remember my face. I actually came on Wednesday nights for about a year or so. This was a few years back. And I figured it's a good opportunity to come back and learn and experience some more about this. So it's great to see a lot of familiar faces, and it's great to hear Les again. I think I'll be coming regularly from now on.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Well, Gary, can you tell us where you are? What is the background behind you, the hallway?
The background, it's a photograph that I took in Japan last November. It's Eiheiji. It's one of the two largest Zen temples in Japan. It's I guess English translation would be Temple of Eternal Peace.
Okay, Eiheiji.
And this is just yeah, Eiheiji. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I do see one other person I don't recognize, but only on audio. Charlene, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Charlene. It was quite a while ago that I joined in Kannon, but I actually went to insight meditation for some time in Redwood City. So it's nice to be back and hear Les again. I really appreciate the community here and hearing his wisdom. Thank you.
Charlene.
Nice to meet you, Charlene. Oh, and there's another one, Anaya. We have a lot of people we haven't seen in a while.
Hi. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. It's absolutely wonderful to be back again. I used to come in for meditation in 2018, and a lot of changes happened over the entire last year, and I'm back again now. I've been trying to practice by myself, but figured that it is time to get back into the Sangha and get a lot more support. So hearing Les talk today, the topic that you spoke about, it kind of made me realize that I have been going through the exact same thought process, and I have ultimately reached the point where I found the knowledge that Les gave today. And I won't say it's knowledge, but it is something that I needed reiteration for myself about, that my own practice will give me whatever answers I need. So thank you so much, Les, for the talk today. It was really, really, it was really wonderful. And it's really, really great to be back again. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Great. I don't think anyone else is here for the first time. But let's see. Oh, well, first, do we have any announcements? Then we can introduce ourselves. Teresa?
Yeah, Brenda will be our speaker next week. And since she's here, maybe she already has I don't know if you have a title or a topic that you want to announce, Brenda, or is it going to be a surprise?
Surprise.
Okay, great. Anything else? Any other announcements? Okay. Well, I have a quick reminder that these talks are recorded, and if you want your question for privacy reasons, confidentiality reasons, to be taken out, just please shoot me a chat message before you leave, and I'll make sure it's removed from the recording, because we want to respect your privacy, but we also would love for you to participate. And then I also have another announcement, I guess, but if anyone's interested in information about an election retreat, I have some information about that I can share. If some people have been asking for information, it's not hosted by Kannon, it's hosted by an organization called Branching Streams, and so it's, you know, it's a way to try to make a difference politically in a spiritually minded context, and meditation. It's about a half-day retreat, so yeah, feel free to stay on, and if you're interested. Okay, that's all I have. Any other announcements? Okay, why don't we quickly go around? I'm just going to unmute everyone and we can all introduce ourselves.
I'm Les.
Dave?
Megan? I am.
Eric.
Vanessa.
Lee. And
Omar. Giuseppe.
Craig.
Travis.
Brenda.
Ananya.
Eric.
Will.
Teresa. I don't see well.
There's a lot of people on the call today, so they're on 2 pages.
Yeah, I can't find the others.
They're in somewhere. I'm Bonnie. Not everyone, or at least everyone who could figure out how to unmute themselves. Okay. Thank you, Les, for a wonderful talk. Looking forward to having you talk more, see how many people showed up for your talk. Okay, you're all free to go, and you're also free to stay on if you want.
Yeah. Good night.
Hey, good night.
see you soon.
So there's multiple election retreats, and generally what they do is try to encourage voter participation in the swing states particularly. And let me put in the chat. So here, registration closes this Friday for the last writing retreat on October 11th. That's where you actually write letters. There is a $25 fee for materials, and then there's also phone retreats. There's a number of those. I haven't done those, but I haven't actually done either, but let me put the link for that as well in the chat. They're all the same base URL. It's electionretreat.org, and a lot of different sanghas participate. And the nice thing about Zoom is that no matter who's hosting it in whatever state, you can still participate remotely. But yeah, it is short notice. I apologize. I forgot to let people know earlier. But Friday is the last day to register for the writing one. And then I think you can register later for the other ones because you don't need materials. So you don't really need to register far in advance. But I think it's a good way to combat feeling helpless in a lot of really uncertain times. I mean, at least doing something and doing it as part of a group too. Like I think the most inspiring thing will probably be just being with hundreds of other people that care passionately about this too, and just saying, okay, there's other people that care. It's not just me, you know?
Yeah, and I talked to people who participated in both writing letters and phone banking. And apparently the writing letters is a much more positive experience than the banking one.
Phone bank certainly sounds more daunting. Yeah.
You might get all kinds of, yeah, I mean, I think I would prefer receiving a letter as opposed to receiving a phone call. No one really likes solicitations and phone calls, but a heartfelt letter can go a long way. So
Thank you for sharing that, Bonnie.
absolutely.